You'll often hear people say, we live in a matrix. But what does that actually mean? Let me start off by sharing with you what the etymology of matrix is. The etymology of matrix is source, origin, womb, and mother. So the matrix is the artificial womb or the inorganic womb. From the moment a person leaves their mother's womb, they are conditioned through various efforts brought on by the birth industrial complex, the education industrial complex, the corporate industrial complex, and the religious industrial complex to direct their life force toward securing, maintaining, and withdrawing into artificial and inorganic wombs as a mechanism of protection and preservation. All of these industrial complexes being the artificial and inorganic wombs that are designed to pacify you. The purpose and functionality of these artificial wombs is to provide a stable environment for both chaotic and coherent activity, to provide shelter from the processes of growth and maturity, of maturation, and to provide security and safety, physically, emotionally, financially, professionally, and so on. So many people desire that an employer or the government take care of them. And then they blame all of their problems on their failure to do so. Safety and security from such sources is one of the greatest illusions of all. This is how you give up choice. One of the most significant relationships is the link between choice and responsibility. How much choice you can exercise is inextricably linked to how much responsibility you are willing to accept and hold and have. A strong sense of internal and therefore eternal safety and security comes from accepting full responsibility for yourself. The socio-political and cultural structure of all nations is dependency. is codependency. And in my personal truth system, there are a rare number of humans who enter adulthood as an integrated adult due to not going through and growing through a proper initiation and rite of passage, and due to not going through and growing through a process of individuation. And from my personal observations, the average person is a wounded child posing as an adult. The primary reason this structure of dependency and codependency exists is because unintegrated adults are having children that they are not able to fully be responsible for and show up for. Therein parentifying them. Essentially, unintegrated adults are creating more unintegrated adults. It's very simple math. Parentification, or parent-child role reversal, is the process of role reversal whereby a child is put in a position to act as a parent to their own parent, to themselves, or to their sibling or siblings. And there are two types of parentification. There is instrumental parentification, which is being put in a position to complete physical tasks for your parent or for the family that are not within reason or within the scope of a child's capacity to hold said responsibility. And the second type of parentification is emotional parentification, which is when a child is put in a position to take on the role of a confidant or emotional caretaker or emotional caregiver or mediator for or between parents or family members who are in conflict. You'll often see this happen in divorced families, for example. Both types of parentification, instrumental and emotional parentification, essentially rob the child of fully being a child, of fully playing, of fully expressing, of fully embodying, of fully experiencing life, of learning at their own pace and in their own way, from a self-initiated place, from a self-led place, when there is ripeness, rather than from an imposed place where the child is not mature enough to hold that experience. And because so much of what is being asked of them is not within their scope of capacity, this creates a deep-rooted sense of not trusting oneself, of not being able to take care of oneself, of not being able to be responsible for oneself, of being inadequate, of being incompetent. So it leads to a collapse in their trust system in themselves, in their childhood, which extends into their adulthood. So what happens is they go from being a parentified child to an infantilized adult. It's this lack of co-regulation as children with our caregivers that makes us reliant on external regulation as adults. Cue all of the systems and all of the industries designed to regulate us and our behavior and our choice and our action. A lack of co-regulation in childhood leads to a codependent adulthood. Dissolving that codependence in adulthood requires going and growing through an initiation and a rite of passage. You won't need or desire or require external systematic regulation when you have internal systematic regulation. You won't have the unconscious desire to be regulated by someone or something else when you realize your capacity to regulate yourself. So another primary reason that this structure of dependency and codependency exists is because of the individual person's unconscious and or subconscious desire to perpetuate their own dependency, their own dependent relationship from childhood. To elaborate, they desire a human God, to eliminate all risk from their life and to obtain perceived safety and security without having to manage it themselves. And safety, as Bauhaus wife Yolanda puts it so eloquently, is a material impossibility in this world of ever-present risk. And safety is the myth of extrinsic protection. To live another day is a great risk. To live another day is a great responsibility. To live another day is a great reward. Ultimately, the unintegrated adult's fear of death manifests as irresponsibility and the outsourcing of responsibility to an authoritative figure. Someone we have been taught to see as superior to us, as better knowing than us, for us. In my personal truth system, this is why women and families unconsciously choose to birth through the birth industrial complex, because they are still living in the artificial womb, because they are still tethered to the umbilical cord of the matrix, because they haven't been initiated from their child self to their adult self, from the maiden to the mother, because they're operating from a fragmented place. And as a result, they do not trust themselves. They lack faith. As a result, they have outsourced their truth for far too long to know what their core truth really is and to operate from that space. And as a result, they have outsourced their choice for far too long to realize how much choice is really available to them. And as a result, they don't feel equipped to take on the full responsibility of their life's creation and life's unfolding. As a result, they don't feel equipped to take on the risk of their life's creation and life's unfolding. As a result, they don't feel equipped to take on the reward of their life's creation and unfolding. As a result, they feel like they do not have the capacity to take care of themselves, which translates to feeling like they do not have the capacity to take care of their children. Therein handing the responsibility over to hospitals, to doctors, to pediatricians, to nannies, to broken school systems, to teachers, and the list goes on. All of these authoritative figures and supreme beings who you have been taught, who we have been taught know better than you do, better than we do, that have effectively replaced the role of both mommy and daddy. If this stirred something in you, which I trust it did, I invite you to keep watching. We will continue to dive deeper into what it means to be an initiated and integrated adult, and so much more. I look forward to you tapping in further and deeper.